Welcome back to Alive and Well's Daily Dose, your daily dose of support. In today's episode, we're going to be speaking with some of our friends from the Kansas City Public Library as they share with us the crucial role that libraries continue to play during this time. Now, we know that library is always a great resource in our community, and that hasn't changed during this time of COVID-19. And so we're so excited today to welcome our guests with us who are going to share a little bit more about the resources that the library has to offer during this time. So I want to really quickly welcome Jamie and Stephen. And before we get going with some great information, I want to share a little bit about these two wonderful folks who have taken time out of their schedules to be with us today. So Jamie is the Assistant Director for the Youth and Family Department with the Kansas City Public Library, and Stephen is the Director of Programming and Marketing for the Kansas City Public Library. So I want to say to you two, thank you so very much for joining us as we learn about these great resources available during this time.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I wanted to just start the conversation, and we know that libraries such an important resource for any and every community. Can you start off by sharing with us how you all have adapted during this time to still remain a crucial community resource?
Yes. We basically, it's important to us to serve our community. And as soon as we realized that we couldn't do that in the physical buildings, we began looking at ways we could do it online. And a lot of us had played around with online stuff, but it was also really new territory for shifting everything we do online beyond our resources, which have always been available online for a long time now. So we, for the Youth and Family Engagement Department, we started with Facebook story times. And I think we started within about a week of everything shutting down. We were doing story times every day of the week at 10:30 in the morning. And we have 7 of our youth librarians. So it's a different person every day, essentially, just going on, reading stories, doing rhymes and songs and things that you do in all the story times. We even have a yoga story time on Saturday mornings now, because one of our youth people is a certified yoga instructor. And so that just felt important to keep communication with the people that the children know already, that they not lose that. And so that was the first thing we put into place. All kinds of technical issues, of course, to start, but we just kept after it. We also wanted to serve kids who are between 8 and 12 about. Some teens might also benefit from the programming that we're doing there, but we have on YouTube, which is where we think more of our older kids are hanging out. We started a series called Make, Do, Tell, and that is available on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And that is, on Tuesdays, it's storytelling. On Wednesdays, it's comic illustration. And on Thursdays, it's STEAM. So it could be an art project. It could be a science project. It's doing things with stuff that you can find around your house, creating. So those two things got kicked in pretty quickly. Steve, if you want to talk about some of the adult stuff, that would be great.
Well, we were a little bit fortunate in that we had been doing online programming for at least on and off for some time. We have always done our programming live at a library location, but many of those programs had gotten to the point where they were too large to be accommodated in the spaces we had available. So we had started doing live stream for some of our bigger authors. That allowed us to transition a little bit more easily into the digital space when all of this happened. I think that the biggest effect that it's had on us has been trying to cut back a little bit. We were doing 3 or 4 of those a week. And it seems like, there's a fine line that you walk between people are in need of education and entertainment now more than ever. And how much space is there out there to be able to do those? So We don't have a recurring series at the moment. We've done a few programs already. Two in particular coming up on next Tuesday. We have Jared Diamond. And Jared wrote a book called Upheaval, Turning Points for Nations in Crisis. He looked at 6 countries: Japan, Finland, Chile, Indonesia, Germany, and the United States, and how they dealt with various crises over the years. And he's going to explain how those lessons might be applied to what's happening around the world today. And then the following week, on Thursday, May 21st, we have a gentleman by the name of David Sachs. David wrote a book called The Soul of an Entrepreneur. And the book itself is it's a book about entrepreneurship, but it goes beyond those big entrepreneurial success stories that we're all familiar with. His focus isn't on Amazon, Twitter, and Facebook. Instead, what he wants to do is tell the stories of those everyday entrepreneurs who are starting new businesses like restaurants and hair salons. And in particular, he's gonna talk about how those entrepreneurs are shifting to help their communities during the pandemic. And he'll go into things like how fashion designers are shifting to start sewing face masks, how distilleries are making hand sanitizers, restaurants are donating meals to isolated senior citizens, and things like that. And then, from there, we've got an upcoming series that we're working on that's going to deal more directly with the pandemic and focus, though, on things of local interest. We're going to try to stay away from what's happening in Washington. We figure people can find that out most anywhere. And we want to tell the stories of what's happening with local government, what's happening with local businesses, and perhaps most importantly, tell the story of what effect this is going to have on children in both the short term and the long term. So that's some of the upcoming signature events that we have coming up. We have some other things that are going on a regular basis as well. Tech access is a big one for us at all public libraries, but especially urban libraries and the Kansas City Public Library. Many of the people that use the library don't have access to computers. They don't have access to the internet. And that's really challenging for us in this time because there's only so much you can do to help those people. A Zoom class doesn't do any good for a person that doesn't have a computer at home or doesn't have access to the internet. So we try to connect people with organizations like Connecting for Good that make computers and Wi-Fi hotspots available to folks. We've boosted the Wi-Fi signal in all of our buildings and removed the password so that people can get internet access through our parking lot. And we try to do a few technology-related classes as well, but those are geared towards things like helping parents navigate the benefits and the pitfalls of technology at home when kids are stuck at home all day, and how those can both help and hinder childhood development. One of the things that the library did shortly before we closed was that we remade our reference department into something that we call the community reference team. And one of the positions on that team is a health and wellness librarian. Her name is Jenny Starr, and she's been really, really busting it, trying to get stuff up online. She's got all kinds of free resources that she's pulled together. She's doing free online gardening classes, free cooking demos online. She's arranged for a woman by the name of Nikki Fit to do free exercise classes on time. And one of the things that I think that is most interesting about those exercise classes is, library patrons kind of run the gamut in terms of age and physical abilities. So she is doing classes for us that range anywhere from your traditional full aerobic exercise to classes that can be done entirely from the comfort of your favorite chair. So for people that aren't able to get up and move around, they can still get the benefits of exercise through these classes. It's really some really cool stuff that she's doing.
That's really exciting to hear about all of the various resources that are available, as well as the way that the library is really working to address kind of the digital divide to ensure that people do have access during this time when we know access is really essential for engaging in learning, for entertainment, and even for our well-being to receive information like this. So, no, thank you for all that you're doing. I know we talked a little bit earlier. If someone's interested in finding out about when these classes are available, can you two talk us through how we might go about finding that out?
Sure. So if you go to our website, it's kclibrary.org, and you'll see a link at the top there that is events, classes, and activities near the top of the screen. And as you click on that, you get this pull down menu, and you can go to the various categories. If you want to get just the youth and family stuff, you can go over there to kids and families. If you want to get just the signature events, you can click on the signature events. But if you want to see everything, there's this link at the bottom in the middle that just says calendar. And that will pull you up a month view of all of the online classes and activities that we have going on. So you can see everything in one place. So all of these things that we're talking about, and probably a few others as well.
So Friday night family fun. That sounds exciting. What sorts of events do you all have planned on Friday night family fun?
So our summer reading program is going to be going online as well, and we'll be utilizing the Friday night slot. That is basically every Friday night for years now at the Plaza Library. We have had some kind of activity for kids and families, and sometimes we hire a performer, a magician, a musician, whatever, a storyteller, whatever it might be. And basically it's smaller children, maybe up through age 8 or so, generally is who that appeals to. And so we took that online almost immediately. It also includes some of the STEAM activities. So it's a mix of things, but we have all of our performers, we're reaching out to them to see if they are comfortable with moving their show online for the summer. So that's our hope, is that we'll have a lot of these big programs to offer then, something fun, light, and something that people will learn things from as well. So that's what that is.
The youth and family librarians have really done a great job with that, Jamie. The story times, I love the Make Do Tell series. My son loves the comic classes that you all have up there. And the Friday Night Family Fun has been really astonishing how quickly that came together. And it's really also been kind of heartwarming how enthusiastically the regular guests on that series have jumped in and said, yeah, I'll make that change. I'll do it online. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. So recognizing that, that even families can tune in together and have something to do when it seems like there's not a single new activity to do at home. So always knowing that the library is offering something fun and online for the family to engage in.
One of the fun things that they've done on the Friday Night Family Fun as well is one of our librarians has hosted some crafting hours during that time slot. And she's kind of shown people how the various crafts that they can do using things that just about everybody has laying around at their house.
Yeah, and this summer we're actually looking at ramping that up and creating kits so that we'll have somebody who is doing the show, but you can come to the library and get your kit, or at a site where we're hoping to partner with the harvesters sites where kids can go and pick up their meals and say, hey, here's something for you to do, and here's when you can watch how to do it. And for those who don't have internet access, just having the instructions in there so that we can start to hit the equity gaps in being able to do some of this stuff.
Now, I know the Kansas City Public Library has always really had a big focus on engaging youth and families. And so, which has always been really wonderful about, helping everyone to understand that a library is not just a place where you have all of these books, but really helping to understand just how powerful and all the resources that a library does have. So can you talk to us a little bit more about the youth and family work that you all have been doing, not just during this time, but also in general?
Yes, absolutely. We got a grant, I don't know, it's been about eight or 9 years ago, from the MacArthur Foundation. And it was, there were 12 of us around the country, museums and libraries, who got this grant to create learning labs for teens. And that really shifted how we approach what we do. We began to see ourselves as informal educators and began to recognize that we're all needed. I mean, we need our formal educators, but there are gaps that happen. And so we began to look at how we could fill that in. And we are teaching and have been for this time, kids how to create with technology, not just to use it. And so from that, we came up this project that we just call CACI because we haven't figured out a better name for it yet, but it stands for Community Access Card Initiative. And initially we were looking at how do we address these equity gaps for teens? We know that there are lots of learning opportunities going on in our city, but there are reasons that teens are unable to access them, from starting with awareness. They simply aren't aware that they exist. And we have learned so much since we started this work about what's out there. They can't get there, transportation wise, or maybe they don't feel welcome. Especially a lot of our Black and brown kids, it's like figuring out how do we welcome you in a way that feels like this was made for you, that you are welcome here, no questions. So that perception barrier is gone, or the very real things where Black and brown kids just have not been welcome. So looking at that, how do we get past that? And it went on from there. How do we even see the pathways that exist, or do they exist? How do we build them if they don't? How do we bring all of our educators together? Formal educators, informal educators, parents, all of it, kids themselves. How do we help them become peer educators? And so that's what that project has been. And we've been working with the Kauffman Foundation to build that out. The first year, 2 summers ago, I think, yes, 2 summers ago, we started by just focusing on teens and bringing them together, doing some design thinking workshops with them, which basically is just helping you start to think about projects. And the focus we had for them is what feels like it would be something you'd want to do as far as learning and cultural opportunities go. What matters to you? How do we help you think bigger than you've been allowed to think because you've never even heard of some things that might be options for you? So we did that for that summer, and we began to gather information from all of the teens who worked with us. And what we learned is that the library card is not the thing itself, but an app would work. Maybe we could tie it into the library card as the way to help them move across the system. It's like, here's what you're learning at school. Is there a way to tie that into the library card without saying it was Johnny who did this and that, but just to make it private and yet still connected? How can we, with the Boys and Girls Club, with the YMCA, with the museums here in town, the whole area, not just Kansas City proper, how do we start to address these? We identified 6 different areas where there were gaps. And so the next summer, what we did was the app that we're looking at, half of it was for teens, but you have to populate that. And so that's what we learned, is that they learn a lot about these opportunities outside their schools from their teachers. And these are trusted adults. How do we build in what the trusted adults are offering? How do we make it so you can see what's available to you? How do we maybe start to provide transportation that actually feels comfortable to you? All of these things were part of that project. And so we're still exploring, how do we move this forward? How do we get the funding to build this app out? How do we test it to make sure it's really working? And we work with some app designers around all of that process. So all of that is still in the works, still working with Kauffman, still looking at other funders to bring in who care about kids as well. And and make this turn into something that can really transform the landscape. We did a lot of traveling around the country and visiting other sites that are working with kids and working on technology and education and learning and all these things. And everywhere we went, they're like, we want to hear when we want to know how this works. So it feels like something that can impact beyond Kansas City as well. So that's a big thing we're doing. This summer, when all of this, the COVID stuff started and things started to close down, we wanted to create videos, because we know we have all these resources, but we know that people don't know about them, or they're intimidated about how to use them. And we know the importance of someone you trust inviting you in and helping you figure out how to use it. It's kind of like if you've been somewhere before, it's easier to go there. If you've dived into one of our databases and someone has showed you all the cool things it can do for you, you're more inclined to go back and explore. So it's how do we help people step in? And so our readers advisors at the Plaza Library, Diana Platt, has been doing every Friday. She explores something that we have, such as Hoopla, which is, it has books, ebooks, audiobooks, movies, comic books, magazines, all of these things that are available that anybody can check out. I mean, like 3,000 people can all check out the same thing at the same time, which is one of the beautiful things about this right now, when we can't get at the books and things that the library offers in physical form. So how do you use these? So we've got little videos, and our plan is to do that with all of our learning databases, especially as we move forward into the summer and into the fall again.
So I really love that the Kansas City Public Library has had a focus on equity. How do we understand the inequity that's present and then actively work to address that? And understanding how the library can be such a crucial resource, especially in helping to eliminate some of that inequity. But we have to use that equity-centered mind frame if we're going to do that.
Yes.
So that's incredibly powerful. Now, I know that there are all these wonderful resources available. What happens if someone may not have a library card? Are they able to get a library card during this time? Are they able to do so electronically, or do they have to go into one of the branches?
Nope, absolutely can do it electronically. The card will give you access to all of our electronic resources. And then when we reopen, you can come in and have it transferred over so you can use the physical stuff as well, or you can just continue to use the electronic stuff if that's what works for you, and you don't need the other.
So if anybody is interested in that, you can get there directly at kclibrary.org/ecard. And that is available to anybody that lives in our service area. And our service area is essentially the expanded Kansas City metro area. It goes beyond what most people, I think, would consider the Kansas City metro area, but it is still limited to those areas directly surrounding the city. It's probably also worth mentioning, because I know you have a lot of viewers outside of Kansas City, obviously. A lot of libraries offer some sort of e-card, especially the bigger ones. I know with certainty that St. Louis does. I'm pretty sure Denver does. So if you live near any large library system and you don't have access, there's a good chance that you can probably sign up with them for an electronic card and get access to all of those digital resources right away.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if any library of size at least doesn't have that option.
I'd also like to mention that one of the things we did as soon as we shut down, within like 3 days, was we went in, and any card that had expired in the last year, we just automatically renewed that. So people that, obviously they all of a sudden found themselves in need of the resources we have and unable to come in and renew their card, we just took care of that for them.
Yeah, and another thing that anybody is welcome to do is we have chat with the librarian. If you have a reference question, I have a friend who works with students at a community college, and she's like, they need to know how to get unemployment. I'm like, chat with a librarian, and we can help you figure things out. We can point you to resources and things like that. So we can't answer the questions necessarily, especially if they're of a legal nature, but we can help you find the resources that will help you get the answers you need. So there's some real practical things as well. I think we need it all right now.
So for someone who may not be aware of all the resources that they can find online through the Kansas City Public Library or through even their local public library, can you discuss with us just some of the things that people may not be aware of?
Sure. I mean, there's all kinds of things. For starters, just with the collection. So there are a number of electronic collections that are available to library card holders. The biggest one is Overdrive. That is a kind of a traditional library model. You go in and you search for your book. If it's there, you check it out. If it's not, you place a hold and you get a notice when it's available. That's probably the largest and most diverse collection. And then, one of my favorites, especially right now, is a resource called Hoopla. And Hoopla is a little bit smaller collection, but the model works differently because with Hoopla, the library pays a small fee based on circulation, as opposed to paying a larger sum to own a book that can then go out to one person at a time. So if you go to Hoopla and you find a book or an audiobook that you want, that book is available immediately. There are no holds, there's no waits. That is just yours to start enjoying today. Another nice thing about Hoopla is they have a lot of graphic novels. I think my son read every Big Nate book through Hoopla last summer and has been reading them again while he's been at home. And then there's the other probably big one, I think, is Canopy. Canopy is an online streaming service. It's the same model. You go in, you find something to watch. The app is available on your computer, on your phone, or through Roku, Fire TV, anything like that. You input your library card information, and it's a streaming service that is available free of charge at home. Jamie, am I missing any of the big ones there?
No, I think you hit all the ones where you can get entertainment and beyond entertainment. We also have some like legal forms databases where you can go in and find legal forms that you might need. I love that our librarians are such a big resource. I love that if you're having a tech issue, you can check in and figure out, how do I do this? Because all of us are having tech issues now that we didn't even dream were possible. So there's help that we can give you live and tailor it right to you. And that's if you're wondering if the library can help you, I'm thinking we probably can. I love that our vendors are also working with us. A lot of them have taken off restrictions that they had, like Hoopla, you could get so many a month, check out so many things a month. Canopy, the same. They've either broadened that or taken some of those restrictions off. Some of our databases were only available for library use, and I think we're seeing some of those restrictions taken off so that people can actually still use them. But if you're wondering, start a chat with a librarian and find out. That's what I did to prepare for this. I'm like, okay, what does this really work like? And what can you tell me? And so I just said, I'm going on the show tomorrow. And so, there's so much going on at the library. That's why I reached out to some other people, because there's so much going on that I'm not even aware of. And I need to be.
Jamie, I did miss one big one, Freegal. Right. So Freegal is a streaming music service similar to Spotify or Pandora. That again, you download the app, you enter your library card information, and the music is available to stream for free. One of the cool things about Freegal that is, I think, in some ways even better than those other services is you get 5 items a week that you can download from Freegal, 5 songs. and those are just yours, as if you bought them from the iTunes store or Amazon or whatever.
No, it's really great to hear about all the amazing resources available, and even to know that like a librarian's there to help even during this time, that I don't have to physically step into a library, but I can chat online. And let me tell you, it may have been a mistake, Jamie, that you shared with me that they can help with technology issues, because I may have to utilize that, not being always so tech savvy and being in a panic and feeling alone with that tech problem rather than feeling like I had the support.
Yeah, and it's even things like I've been wanting to create my own website, and I'm like, all right, what platform should I use? What is it? What can I do? And they sat and talked with me. This was before we shut down, but they have some knowledge that goes beyond just like, I can't get my email to work, or I don't even know how to make email work. So yeah, it's pretty robust what the library can do. It's not just books to read. It's so much. Another one that I just thought of, Steve, is lynda.com. So that's another way to figure out how to do things in the tech world. So their video, and also the transcript is there. So if you're not a print reading learner, and I'm a hands-on learner, but they walk you through. So they've got the videos that tell you, but if you'd rather read it, you can read it as well. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool service to know about for tech help.
And can I mention Ancestry real quick? Do you have a second?
Yeah.
So I think most everybody is familiar with Ancestry, right? You need to research your family tree. Our library and many libraries have always had a partnership with Ancestry that gives access with a library card, but that access has usually been limited to people using computers inside the library building. Mm-hmm. And with the stay-at-home orders in place, Ancestry has temporarily lifted that restriction. So if you have your library card, even from home, you can get free access to their full database and start, working on your family tree and figuring all that stuff out. It's been great.
That's wonderful. I have to say, Stephen and Jamie, we so greatly appreciate you sharing all of the amazing resources that the library continues to offer during this time, and really how adaptive you all have been to making sure that access doesn't stop during this time of COVID. So I just want to say a very big thank you for joining us and sharing all this rich wisdom with us. We know you two are incredibly busy, so we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you again for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for our viewers tuning in live or after the fact, your Daily Dose Challenge is going to be to check out your local library. Check them out online to see what resources are available for you. And you might be just really surprised at all that's available. I had no idea about the streaming music and the ability to download songs. And so that's going to be something I'm going to take advantage of right after this. So make sure to check out your local library to see all of those amazing resources they're offering during this time. And before we conclude today's episode, we also want to make sure that we continue to honor our educators, given that this is the last day of National Teacher Appreciation Week. And so if you haven't taken the opportunity to highlight and recognize a special educator in your life, please, please, please make sure to do so today, because just like all of us, even our educators could use that daily dose of support. So let's take an opportunity to honor them. Once again, thank you so much, Jamie and Stephen. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to join and share with us all of these great resources. And to our viewers, thank you so much. And we'll see you back on Monday for another live episode of the Daily Dose, but we'll have some great reruns playing for you this weekend. Take care. Bye.